And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Good afternoon. I'm National Weather Service meteorologist John Cowen with your marine forecast. Taking a look at our sea ice for today, you can see the ice edge extends generally from Nunivak Island out to the northwest, just north of St. Matthew Island. We don't expect a whole lot of movement of the ice pack over the next couple of days. However, we do have a weak storm system that will be bringing in some warmer temperatures and some light southerly winds to the eastern Bering, so some movement of the ice edge is possible, or a retreat northwards, I should say. However, as we get into Tuesday, you can see that we do have the warmer temperatures that extend all the way up to the Seward Peninsula, bringing some mixed precipitation to those areas. Winds generally pretty light with high pressure and control across most of the southeastern quadrant of the state, so winds won't really be too much of a factor across those areas. And as we get into Wednesday, the front does begin to die off across interior Alaska into southwest. However, we do have some stronger winds out over the open Bering associated with the stronger low that'll be out here. Developing again, bringing rain to a good chunk of the central and western Aleutians. Taking a look at our marine forecast for Tuesday, you can see the inner areas of the panhandle here, generally around 25 knots or so out of the north, seas up to about 2 to 5 feet for most areas. Generally lighter as we go off to the west. By Wednesday, again, with high pressure fully in control, winds are generally pretty light, up to about 20 knots still for the inner areas, but seas around 2 to 4 feet for the offshore areas, 10 to 15 knots, winds generally northerly to easterly. Again, seas about 2 to 4 feet. And then across south central Alaska, high pressure again, keeping things pretty light and variable. Seas about 2 to 4 feet, and then very little change for Wednesday. However, with the system approaching from the west, we do have some stronger winds across the southern Cook Inlet and northern Kodiak Island, picking up to about 30 knots and seas increasing up to about 6 feet by Wednesday. Across southwestern Alaska and eastern Aleutians, same story for most areas. Again, high pressure in control for Tuesday, winds pretty light and variable. As we get into Wednesday, the stronger winds again there for the northern portions of Kodiak Island. We do see some stronger winds as we approach the central Aleutians. We'll get into that one in just a moment. And then looking at the central and western Aleutians for Tuesday, again, mostly or fairly light for most areas. We do have a system over the open Pacific that will be bringing some stronger winds to the central Aleutians, generally southeasterly with seas up to about 10 feet. And then by Wednesday, that system does make a fairly close pass just south of the chain, so we do expect winds to pick up to about 30 knots or so with seas up to about 13 feet. And then on the Bering side, winds still about 25 to 30 knots, however, seas only up to about 8 to 10 feet on the Bering side. And then taking a look at southwestern or the west coast of Alaska for Tuesday, again, the ice-covered areas generally from Nunivak Island north. Winds around 20 to 25 knots out of the south to southeast. Again, southerly flow may help push that ice edge a little bit north, but again, not a whole lot of movement expected there. And then seas still around 2 to 3 feet or so for the open water areas. And then winds becoming northerly on Wednesday as we get frontal passage and that cold air begins to seep back down south. And then finally for the northwestern quadrant of the state, again, all ice covered here, but winds are generally going to be out of the south to southwest, supporting those warmer temperatures Tuesday around 25 to 30 knots. For a good chunk of the coastline, and then by Wednesday again we'll see these winds starting to switch out of the west to even northwest, again bringing that cold air and helping to reinforce that ice cover. And that'll wrap up our marine forecast. I'm meteorologist John Cowen.